Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Grizzly Bear Sims YouTube channel, and welcome back to Tazewell County. This is episode number 22. And you know something, ladies and gentlemen? Sometimes one just has to redeem themselves. I'm the type of person that I just don't want to give up. I don't want to give up on an idea or a thought, and you just keep thinking about it and tinkering at it and chipping away at it and everything. And so I sort of felt that I made a lot of rookie errors in episode number 21. I was looking for the control, and I knew it was in course play. I just didn't get the right tab about stop during unloading, and there it is right there in the first tab. And I guess the reason why I didn't think to check this tab was because during that episode number 21, I essentially was operating the tractor in the auger wagon. So I didn't think about going to this tab, which is typically the tab that one would use if you were sort of driving or at least this is how I use it. I use this tab if I'm driving the combine and I need to request a driver because I'm wanting to make sure that I get emptied at a specific point on the field or whatever. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I guess I was just losing my mind, and I knew that it was somewhere in this, but course play has changed a lot over the last several months, and I don't know everything, and I can't know everything. So anyway, we are going to, again, this is sort of about redeeming myself. And we are sort of going to do the same thing for episode number 22, much that we did for episode number 21, meaning that we are going to harvest this big soybean field number 11, very much the same way. So how you set this up as far as the combine convoy goes is you want to make sure that you get your field selected here, and I've already done that with field number 11. Our working width is 13.2, and the key thing to remember about this is that you want to have I think that this will only really work if you have equal pieces of equipment. Both of these headers are 13.2. It doesn't matter what the combine type is, really. I suppose in a perfect world, if we had two case combines with the exact same headers, that would be probably 100% foolproof. But because our headers are the same working width, that is going to be just fine. We're going to start from our current vehicle position. That's just the easiest thing to do nowadays with this updated version of course play. And we're going to do two headlands, which is going to essentially be the equivalent of 4 headlands if you were doing one combine on the field. We don't need to worry about bypassing islands, and we've got multiple tools. There are 2. And our total width is 26.4, which obviously is 13.2 multiply or plus itself. Okay, so we're going to come over here. We're going to let the case be the one on the left, and we're going to start the case out first on the left-hand side. And now that I know where this stop during unloading is, I think it'll be a little bit easier for us to stop while he's unloading, or even in the event that we don't catch him at the end of a turn, and we have to catch him in the field. At least he'll stay put and will only destroy a portion of the crop. So we're going to go ahead and get this guy going from his first waypoint. Okay, so he'll skip a little bit of material out here on the edge, and then he'll go to his first waypoint, and there he goes. Now we need to jump over to our John Deere, and we need to copy this course, and we're going to copy it from our case actual flow right there. So we're going to copy it, get him loaded in here. He's going to be one right, and we're going to also set him for activated on stop during unloading. We're just going to double check here. That's fine. This stuff doesn't need to be set because he's going to get his instructions from the other combine there. And we're going to get back over here, and we're going to set him for the first waypoint as well. And we are also going to say drive course, and he will proceed into the soybean field, and he will resume his work right about there where the case picked up his work at. So pretty easy peasy lemon squeezy, I suppose, if as long as you have your wits about yourself. And again, ladies and gentlemen, I try. It was already running. I try to, know everything that there is to sort of know about this game, and I do struggle from time to time because there's a lot of different things that one sort of has to keep in their mind, phone numbers and birth dates and all those kind of things, not to mention a lot of stuff that I sort of deal with at work and everything. And sometimes you just sit down and quite honestly, because I don't really practice or script anything out really ahead of time, I sort of sit down and I have a general idea, and we've sort of talked about that before. I mean, obviously, if we're in harvest season, then we're most likely going to be harvesting our crops, or we're going to be planting crops in the spring, or we're going to be tending to the animals and stuff like that. And I kind of, at that particular point in time, I kind of have a general idea as to what I'm going to do. That combine should have stopped, and he will. That's again the cool thing about this feature. And I do need to record, and I will record a more or less a dedicated episode. We don't need our pipe out, do we? I will record sort of a dedicated episode for Combine Convoy that you all can see and figure out how to set all this stuff up on your own and everything. There he goes. Now, hopefully we won't get into any snags over on the other side of the field. Hopefully, there's not too many turns that they're not going to be able to navigate. Sometimes, if there's a fence, the combine will get the header stuck on that. But anyway, again, because I don't practice what I'm going to do in these episodes, I'm not. See, he is set up correctly. He is backing up. Let's see why he's delayed. I think he's just waiting until, yeah, there he goes. He's just waiting until the distance. He's going to always maintain a certain distance away from the lead combine, which again is something that did not exist in Courseplay when I did my first episode or my first instruction video on kind of how to set up multiple combines on the field, which really that video is obsolete now, so I really need to record this other video on Combine Convoy. That way you have that information, because like I said again, that other video is now going to be obsolete because well, you just don't need to follow that anymore. So I'm gonna kind of come up behind the case here and kind of drive in behind the case a little bit, because if he has any problems navigating these turns, and obviously I'm going to need to help him out here. So looks like he is backing up, which is what he's supposed to do. Our John Deere should be stationary at this point, and he is, and we've just paid $8 to somebody for doing something. So yeah, everything's working out just fine. Now again, I really don't think that there is a way, unless you basically stop your combines. I don't think that there is a way to have it where one combine's always going to be, or where both combines are always going to be in the space where you can empty them without destroying crops. I guess if we were to, once we finish our headland courses, which there will be 2 headland courses for this particular field, if we stop it and if we basically reverse the 2, then maybe just kind of playing this through my mind, that might do it. But I think that basically just having the setting set for stopping when unloading and trying to catch them on the ends when they make their turn is probably going to be the best bet. That, and just take a chill pill and don't be like me and don't be so anti having your immersion broken for something that is pretty minor in the grand scheme of things, I suppose. And especially if you set your combine where they will stop when they unload, then basically you're only going to destroy a very small portion of your crop. And I think overall, in the grand scheme of things, you're not going to miss much of that at all. So hopefully that will reign true with your beliefs as well. Sometimes you just have to kind of close your eyes to some of the immersion breaking things, because otherwise you will literally drive yourself crazy. And trust me, I've been there. So it would be cool, obviously, if there were some way for Courseplay to sort of know, and it should, because Courseplay does know the field dimensions, and Courseplay does a pretty good job of calculating out the amount of time that it sort of takes for. Now this combine is having a bit of a problem, so we're basically gonna go to his aid. So we're gonna stop him, and see, some of these field dimensions are a bit off. Oops. Some of these field dimensions are a bit off as they relate to what Courseplay thinks of them, and so I think that's kind of the scenario that we've gotten into here, is that Courseplay doesn't really know that the field boundary is shaped this way, and it struggles just a little bit. So we should be able to do here, do next closest waypoint, and hopefully he will make his turn and he will stay in his position, and the John Deere should pause for a little bit. He should be able to make that turn because he should stay clear of that fence. But as you can kind of tell here, because it's based on sort of as the crow flies, the distance between the combines, the John Deere is slowing up a little bit, because as the crow flies, the distance is less than what the required amount of space is between those two combines. And I'm not sure if I made that very clear as to what I was talking about, but anyway, I think you get the idea. So he's going to back up and make his turn, and all is going to be good. Now the case looks like needs to be emptied, but that's not a problem. We'll get up there and get him just as soon as we empty our John Deere. Of course, it looks like he is also way off the course there. As was I, in trying to turn and get this John Deere emptied. Or maybe it was just a depth perception thing. Maybe he wasn't as far off as I thought that he was. Anyway, this is a very cool feature. I really think that the Courseplay folks have pretty much outdone themselves on Combine Convoy and what this really allows us to do. Because again, if you're playing a single player if you're playing in a single player environment like I am, and this is what I sort of enjoy doing, because I don't have to depend on getting others on the server and all that kind of stuff. And if you want to do this type of scenario with multiple pieces of equipment, then obviously Courseplay or regular AI or the auto combine, the AI vehicle extension, those are going to be required, because we need those to perform those other tasks, those other jobs of those other pieces of equipment. And so it gives us the ability to do this. And then our John Deere will come up there and hopefully get the rest of that, but he didn't. But that's okay. We're gonna, obviously this method leaves a little bit of product on the field, and if that's an issue to you, then I really don't know what to tell you other than that's going to happen, and you can either come along behind and clean this up. I really don't know. It's been quite a long time since I've personally seen harvesting done on a field and everything, and I can't really tell you as to in the real life just how much material gets sort of left out on the fields, like in this type of setting. But again, I think it's all quite minimal in the grand scheme of things. I also will apologize because I realize that we've sort of done 2 episodes back to back in the same fashion. Me operating the auger wagon and letting Courseplay do the convoy on the 2 combines. But again, this is kind of about redeeming myself. One decision that I made on my channel a long time ago when I first started was basically the philosophy of warts and all. And what I mean by that is I'm not perfect, ladies and gentlemen. I'm far from it. And I hope that that's sort of a little bit of an appeal to you, because I don't think anybody, there's not a YouTuber that I know, that basically does everything absolutely 100% perfect with their gameplay. If they do, then my gosh, you know, I certainly have not discovered their channels, and I'm talking about some of the really big ones. I'm not going to mention them by name, but those that have tens of thousands of subscribers. These guys also make mistakes, and so more or less the philosophy that I came up with a long time ago when I decided to start my channel, because again, not really having a whole lot of time to do a lot of stuff, even though right now I'm sort of really caught up and I'm able to crunch out some episodes. Again, I don't have the time to practice and rehearse the things that I'm going to do. I really and truthfully, I think it's often sometimes a little more appealing when you have somebody that does make the occasional mistake or so on camera and leaves that in, whether it's running into a fence post. You know, I beat and batter fence posts and tractors and trucks and trailers and combines and everything else. And again, I try not to do it too bad, because again, this is a simulator, and I take a game that has the word simulator in its title, I take it very seriously, and I like for it to have the immersions and all those kind of things that we talk about in the game. And so obviously it's a simulator, so therefore, much like when I fly in Flight Simulator, I don't try to crash. I don't want to crash. I want to, you know, take off and fly from point A to point B and land successfully, and that's how I consider that to be a successful flight. Same with Farm Sim. I don't intentionally set out to crash into a fence post or into a gate or drive into the side of a moving combine or something like that, but it does happen, and it does happen in the real world as well. And so we can make jokes about it, and we can do what we do and everything. But at the end of the day, it's fun to have the simulation effects and understand what it is that we're doing and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to empty our case here. I'm going to do a little time lapse on this because, again, my apologies, because I sort of do try not to have sort of back-to-back themed content, and I realize that, you know, this episode would have most likely been about harvesting in some shape, form, or fashion, but because I believe I did such a poor job on episode number 21 with all of this and completely having a complete brain lapse on how to configure the combine to stop, because I really think that this will fix this particular issue, that when the case, because the case will move and he will be in the middle of the crop, but I think if we can catch him on the ends and he'll stop and stay stationary, we can empty him and we won't have to destroy crops. So anyway, alright, well, instead of doing a time lapse, I decided that I would just do a pretty big edit cut and chop out some of the stuff that I was going to time lapse through and kind of just demonstrate how I think this will all work out okay. So I'm going to empty the John Deere combine really quick, because this particular mod has a really fast auger pump on it, so it gets the material out of the combine really quick. And of course, I don't have to necessarily worry about the John Deere, because the John Deere will more or less always be on the will have access from the clean side of the field to be able to access him. So if all goes correctly here for me, I'm hoping to basically be able to get the case as he is starting his turn. I will come up beside him, and hopefully he will detect that I am here, and he's going to want to empty. And again, it's kind of quick, and we got to get on him here, and he's not going to stop, is he? He's not going to stop in his turn. Okay, well, he will stop right here. There he goes. So again, just a little bit of crop is destroyed, not a whole lot. And I'll demonstrate another way of basically doing this if we want to, again, sort of destroy a bit of crop in the process, but we don't have to necessarily fight trying to get him to stop on that turn there, because obviously we actually didn't destroy any crops. I think that these tires on this case, and I did not put them on here purposefully, but I don't think that the tires on the case tractor destroy the crop, and I don't know if it's they don't really look like row crop tires. I don't think that this is a mod either, so I don't know why the case doesn't necessarily destroy the crops, but the auger wagon will. So for example, we're following the case in his path here, and let's say, for example, he's full, or he's reaching full. We can come up behind him. Probably the best scenario would be to just let him actually get full and basically stop. But if we come up beside him like this, he will stop here momentarily. And of course, we're destroying a little bit more crop because we have to get up to him like this before he actually will stop. But he will stop. And again, we've destroyed a little bit of crop, but again, not a whole lot. We'll just let him move out of the way. We'll back up a little ways. And then we'll swing out and come into his path here, and all is right with the world. So that's more or less how that needs to be set, ladies and gentlemen. I really don't know of any other way, again, other than basically stopping them once they get on their up and down course and essentially reversing the two combines. I haven't demonstrated, or I haven't tested that to see if that actually would work, so I'm not 100% sure that it's even going to resolve the issues altogether. There is just, some things that occasionally immersion gets broken, and we just have to deal with it, and we have to move on. We can't stress over it because, hey, we're supposed to play these games to actually de-stress our lives and everything, and if we get all stressed and everything because of the way something is working, or should I say maybe the way something is not working, then we're just going to end up ruining the experience for ourselves, and that's never good. That is never good. All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, again, this video is kind of redemption of Grizzly Bear Sims, because I literally made a mess out of the previous episode, and there we go. And I wanted to redeem myself because, it is what it is. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be a short episode because I'm going to cut out probably a good 10 or 15 minutes of this video out. So this is probably going to be in the area of about 20 minutes long. So my apologies for the short video. My apologies for doing such a poor job with episode number 21, but I've explained my philosophies on all of this, and I think that I'm a better content creator by leaving in the boo-boos, leaving in the things that actually can happen and often do happen in the real world, and not over polishing and not over practicing and all that kind of stuff. There's just no way that I can do that. So we're going to basically come back for episode number 23 and probably do a little bit more harvesting, but obviously much different than what we are doing right now, or today, or the previous episode. So we won't be doing the double combine work. We actually have 2 fields left to harvest, 2 very small fields left to harvest, and I'll probably just harvest one of those fields on camera, in the other field off camera, and we'll do that, and then we'll basically see, you know, how much further, how much longer this series is going to go. And you know, the soybeans, the crop has been very successful for us, and so I think that it's all been worth it. It's all been a wonderful map. It's all been a wonderful series to play, and I've had such a good time with it. But we'll have at least one more episode of harvesting, and then maybe come back and do kind of a closing kind of thing like we did with Midtown USA, and not necessarily go through the whole winter and all that kind of stuff, since we are essentially only planning on playing this map one time, 1 year, one season, or at least one harvest season. So thank you again for watching. I do appreciate it. Please take good care of yourself and also of each other. If you've got any suggestions, or if you know how to better do this than what I've poorly demonstrated in the first video, the 21, and then what I've hopefully better demonstrated in this video, please chime in and let me know, and I'll give it a test and see if it will actually work out. But I don't know of any other better way of doing this other than just essentially closing our eyes and saying, you know, if we lose a very small percentage of crop, which is probably going to be in the less than 10% of the crop, probably something like 2 or 3% of the crop we are going to lose because of this. That's not that big of a deal. We certainly have factored all that into our margins anyway. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I have a tendency to ramble if I don't just go ahead and stop recording and say goodbye and everything. So God bless you all. Take good care of yourself and also of each other, and please come back and see us again, either here on Tazewell County or over on Green River. Talk to you all very, very soon. Bye-bye for now.